I love the smell of alabaster oil. When I streak it through my hair and smooth it out over my skin, the fragrance fills the air. It is expensive oil I imported from India, so I use it for only the most important of occasions. I was among the crowd when Jesus came into Jerusalem. It was like a great festival or parade, with Jesus leading the way. How excited we were because he was a great man, a teacher, a healer, a preacher, perhaps even a king. And so we cut branches from the fields and put them on the road and shouted, "Hosanna," because we believed he was the chosen one from God. A few days later, I learned that Jesus was visiting the home of Simon. Simon used to be a leper, but Jesus healed him. I found Jesus seated at a table, and because I knew Jesus was a special man, I thought it was appropriate to give him a special gift. So I took my vial of expensive oil, and I gently poured some on his head. It was the finest gift I could give him. Little did I know I would cause such a ruckus. Some were very angry that I was wasting such an expensive ointment when I could have sold it and given the money to the poor. I was about to run away in shame when Jesus said, "Leave her alone. You will always have the opportunity to show kindness to the poor, but I will not always be with you. She has done a beautiful thing for me. She has anointed my body beforehand for burial. For her kindness to me this day, she will be remembered by all." My heart soared. He appreciated my gift. I didn't know what this talk of anointing his body for burial was about, but it was clear that he appreciated me. I do believe he is God's anointed one, and I'm glad we shouted, "Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord."
I'm Peter. I'm one of Jesus' closest friends. We were all gathered in a room, just the 12 of us, to celebrate the Passover meal. It was a tradition we shared every year, remembering how God saved the Israelites from slavery in Egypt. We were all excited to be together, and the meal was rich with meaning. There were bitter herbs to remind us of the bitterness of slavery, unleavened bread, and wine. It was time to reflect on God's faithfulness. But then Jesus did something unexpected. He took the bread, broke it, and said, "This is my body." We were all confused. What did this mean? What did he mean by that? He took the cup and said, "This is my blood of the covenant." We looked at each other, unsure of what he meant. It was strange and mysterious, but somehow we trusted him. Then Jesus became serious. He said, "One of you will betray me." We all looked around at each other, shocked. How could anyone betray him? We were all his friends and his followers. But then Jesus said something that shook me. "You will all desert me." I couldn't believe it. I would never leave him. I've been with Jesus through everything, through the storms, through the crowds, through the hard times. So I looked at him and said, "Lord, I will never desert you. I mean it." But then Jesus looked at me and I heard his voice. Soft but firm, he said, "Before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times. What? No, I couldn't understand. I would never betray him. He was my master, my friend. But deep down, I wondered if he was right. What would I do when the pressure came? Could I truly stand by him through whatever would happen? The meal ended and the shadows began to grow, and I could already feel the weight of his words on me.
It was early Saturday morning when I was rudely awakened. As governor of Judea, I, Pilate, should be able to set my own hours. But the priests, elders, and scribes demanded a trial for a man whom they accused to be claiming to be the Messiah and King. Now look, I didn't care if Jesus claimed to be a Messiah. That's a religious concern that the Council of the Jews would have to deal with. But if Jesus claimed to be king, this would be a serious matter because only Caesar determines who is to be king of his domain. If Jesus claims to be a king, he is a traitor and subject to the charge of treason. So I asked him straight out, "Are you the king of Jews?" But Jesus didn't give me a direct answer. In return, he said, "You say so," and then he wouldn't say another word. Because it was the Passover festival, and because I wanted to favor with my subjects, it was my practice to release a prisoner to show the good will and mercy of their governor. But this year, I decided to have a little fun. I knew that the religious authorities hated Jesus, but that he was very popular with the Jews, so I shouted out to the crowd, "Do you want me to release for you the King of Jews?" I was surprised at the resourcefulness of the chief priests and at the fickleness of the crowd. The religious leaders walked through the people and got them all stirred up, so they started shouting to release a thief named Barabbas instead of Jesus. And when I asked what I should do with the one called King of Jews, they screamed out in a frenzy, "Crucify him." I challenged them by asking what evil Jesus had done to deserve death, but they screamed out all the more, "Crucify him." So seeing that I could please the whim of the crowd, I had Jesus whipped and ordered him to be crucified.
You know, I've seen a lot in my time, but nothing quite like that day. When they called out my name, Barabbas, they say I was a troublemaker, a criminal. But who's to say what's right and wrong in this world? Especially when it comes to those Roman occupiers. They've overstayed their welcome in our land, and I stood up for what I believe. And yes, things got a bit violent. But they started it, and then they locked me up, sitting in that dark cell, waiting for whatever fate they had in store for me. Then they come and drag me onto the streets, and I see him, Jesus. The crowd is shouting, yelling for his blood, and I'm just standing there, confused, wondering why they're all so worked up. He wasn't even at the riot. As the sun dawns on my face, I'm squinting at the crowd, and in a thunderous voice, they yell my name, over and over again. I thought I was done for, and then the guard grabs me, loosens my chains, and I'm free. Free? Me? I couldn't believe it. I was supposed to be crucified for murder, but instead, they let me go. And Jesus took my place. I don't understand it then, and I'm not sure I understand it now. But there he was, carrying that heavy cross, taking on my punishment like it was his own. I didn't ask for it, didn't deserve it, but he did it anyway. And I'll never forget the look in his eyes when he walked past me, beaten and bloody, but somehow still full of compassion. They called him the Son of God. In that moment, I couldn't argue with them. So now here I am, a free man because of him. I don't know what I'll do with my life now, but one thing's for sure. I'll never forget the day Jesus took my place on the cross, and for that, I'll be eternally grateful.
I am a soldier, a centurion. I follow orders. 100 men serve under me. I have seen battle, blood, and death. Executions, routine. Justice belongs to Rome. Obedience belongs to me. Jesus of Nazareth was just another criminal. My men did what they always do. Beat him, mocked him, crowned him with thorns. Too weak to carry his cross, forced a bystander to help him. At Golgotha, we nailed him to the wood, raised it high. The crowd jeered. Even the priests mocked him. Let the Messiah come down from the cross. But Jesus, he said nothing. At midday, the sky went dark, heavy, suffocating. I heard of his miracles, his words of God's kingdom. I had ignored the rumors, but now I began to wonder. For hours we stood in that eerie gloom. Then he cried out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" One final breath, silence. And in that silence, I knew. I had seen many die, but never like this. I felt a power greater than Rome, greater than death itself. They say the temple curtain tore in two, that the earth shook. I do not know. I only know what came from my lips, unbidden, unstoppable. Truly, this man was the Son of God. And I believe it. Pilate gave a man named Joseph the body. 2 women, Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of Joseph, followed the burial. 1 week from Hosanna to a sealed tomb, but the story was not over. That tomb would not hold him for long.